Hi guys, it's Jenny, and I'm coming to you from my living room today because Ryker is sleeping in his nursery, and so I wanted to do a really quick video to talk a little bit about sleep training because this is, it's the morning after our third night of sleep training with Ryker. So I thought I would talk a little bit about it because sleep is such a huge issue with babies. And at his age, he's going to be 6 months next week. Can you believe it? It tends to be kind of the tipping point where if you've got a bad sleeper or a kid with some bad habits, it's kind of at the point where you can't allow it to go on much longer, or else those habits are going to become really ingrained and you're going to have some serious problems later on. And also, if you're sleep deprived at 6 months, you just really have to get that fixed because you can't keep going on and on like that. So if you've been watching Ryker's updates, you'll know that the last about 2 months he has turned into a pretty bad sleeper. He's developed some bad habits, and this last couple of weeks he's been basically co-sleeping with me most of the night because after his first about 2-hour stretch of sleep he wakes up and he wants to nurse, and that's basically the only way that he will go back to sleep. And he will wake up about every hour and a half, maybe hour, sometimes every half hour, and fuss and roll around and cry until he gets the boob. And so it's really been like, just put him in bed with me at that point because it's not going to work any other way, you know? I'm not, like, it's the only way either of us can get any sleep. And as much as I like cuddling with him, I don't like co-sleeping very much because I just don't sleep. I don't know, maybe some people can sleep deeply with their kid laying next to them, but I can't. So yeah, we made the decision, especially because we just got his crib, to transfer him to the crib full-time at night and to wean him off of most of his nighttime feedings because at 6 months he doesn't need to eat 7 times a night, you know. So I looked through a bunch of different sleep methods and I decided I did not want to go the cry it out route. I'm sure it works great for some people, but I did not want to leave him alone screaming his head off. And that's something that my husband, I think, had tried a couple times, even though I wasn't too thrilled about it, when I had been away in the evening and he was putting him to bed because he really hadn't developed his own method of putting him to sleep yet. And so, I don't know, I did a bunch of research and read, and I decided that one of the gentler methods would work better for us, where I actually was in the room with him all night, which I am anyway, but when he wakes up at night, where I would stay by the side of his crib and then slowly transition myself further away until he was secure enough when he woke up to get himself back to sleep, knowing that he was okay and that I was nearby and that everything was cool. So this comes from the book that I read called Good Night Sleep Tight by Kim West, and so I guess you could call it, she's called the Sleep Lady. So it's the Sleep Lady solution, I guess. There's all the different solutions and methods. So I guess hers is the Sleep Lady method solution thing. So yeah, I hate the concept of letting a kid cry, a 6-month-old baby cry in the middle of the night, but if you're going to teach your kid how to put themselves to sleep, which is a really valuable skill for them to learn, because sleeping is a learned skill. It's not something that just comes natural when you're a baby. It's really tough pill to swallow, but it's something that I think in the long run is going to be really much better for him and for our family, because I sleep in his nursery with him, and I would really like at some point to go back into my own bed with my husband. As much as I love being in the room with him, and as much anxiety as I have when I'm not in the room with him when he's sleeping, I think it's just better for everyone. So yes, we made the decision just before 6 months to do this. And so yeah, here's how it's gone. So we just got done with the third night, and so I'm not going to go into too much detail about the program or the book. If you're interested, Kim West has a bunch of videos on YouTube where she answers people's questions about sleeping, and she talks about her ideas on sleep training. And then she also has the book, the Good Night Sleep Tight, that you can also read. So there, check it out. So basically what happens is we do his normal bedtime routine, which includes book reading, snuggling. He eats before we read the book and sing to him so that he doesn't nurse himself to sleep like he's used to, because that is literally the only way that kid has like fallen asleep ever in his first 6 months of life. So yeah, I get the nursing done first before he's really tired enough to fall asleep. And we've been putting him down around 7:30 every night. And so we go into the dark room in his nursery, we turn on the sound machine, and I read to him, and we snuggle, and then we sing a couple songs with him on my shoulder, kind of like this, or with my husband's shoulder, because he's actually a better singer than I am. So Ryker loves his singing. And if he let him sing more than 2 or 3 songs, Ryker just goes to sleep on his shoulder, which is really sweet. But that's not how you're supposed to do it. So we sing to him a little bit till he's drowsy and happy, and then we put him in the crib drowsy and awake. And so these last 3 nights, the first 3 nights of the program, I sit directly like next to his crib, so he can see me if he's awake, and he knows that I'm there. And so the point is to stay with them when they're awake, trying to get to sleep, and reassure them through patting, through verbal reassurance, and shushing. And so that's what I did. You know, I'd pat him and say, good night, you know, Ryker, I love you, but it's time for sleep, it's time for night-night. And then I would sit there and, you know, go, shh, 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 it's okay, it's time for night-night. And he would put himself to sleep. Now the first time of the night when we first put him in the crib, he's actually not too bad at putting himself to sleep. We've done it before. And so he's kind of used to it, and honestly I haven't had almost any problem with him the last 3 nights. The first time, he will just roll onto his side where he likes to sleep. We're using a levee, so he has a little whale blanket with a little whale head on it. It's just kind of small, that I wore under my shirt so it smells like me. And he grabs onto it and he rolls onto his side and he just kind of goes to sleep. Maybe, you know, fusses for maybe a minute or 2. But he's pretty happy at that point, and I'm right there, so he falls right asleep, which is great. And so the first night I left him at that point, and he slept for, let's see, I've got it all written down. He slept for 2 hours, which is pretty normal. He'll wake up after an hour or 2 when we first put him down. And I went in there, which was basically when I was going to go to sleep, around 10, and he did not enjoy me sitting next to his crib and not being able to get out and to be comforted by me, because that is what he's used to every single time, and being comforted by nursing. So he cried, and I hate having to let him cry. It sort of, you know, was hard for me, but I was surprised that he didn't get that crazy. Like his crying never devolved into hysterics. He fuss cried, which is, you know, it's not this like really ear-splitting, you're killing me, I can't believe you're doing this, I hate you, Mom type of cry. It's a fussing cry, like, Mom, you know, I can't believe you're doing this really sucks, I don't want to put myself to sleep. And, you know, every now and then he would reach a peak, we'd be like, ah, but then he would calm down again. And he sort of did this for an hour and 20 minutes. But the crying actually was really only the first 45 minutes. After that, he would calm down and sort of, you know, close his eyes and maybe for a minute, and then he would start again and crying again. And then he would slow down and close his eyes and sleep for a minute or 2, and then he would wake up. And so he did that for like half an hour, and then finally he fell asleep. And I was, you know, like, I didn't interrupt him too much. I would shush a lot, but I wouldn't talk a lot. Every now and then I would say, I love you, Ryker, but it's night-night, night-night time. And I think every time I spoke, and I only actually pet him, I like touched him through the crib slats like 3 times, because I think every time I did that, it just really pissed him off more. He didn't like that at all, because then he'd be like, damn it, woman, pick me up. I know you're there. But I think he responded better to the shushing, and so I was just a quiet, reassuring presence that would shush him now and then, let him know it was okay. And he went to sleep. And then he slept for 5 hours. And Ryker has not slept longer than 3 hours in at least a month. So I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. Because I got to sleep for at least, 4.5 of that. Because I actually had to get up and pump because I usually feed him all night. So I was really full. And so I had to get up and pump, but halfway through my pumping, he woke up. And so then I went back in and did the same exact thing, and he cried for not long before falling asleep again. But this period between, that was like 4:30, between 4:30 and 6 has been tough for him, because he's used to waking up a lot during that period. And so he woke up, he went back to sleep by himself. He woke up a half hour later, he cried for 45 minutes. And then it was just about 6 a.m. and I did not want him to get up before 6 a.m. but he was just like, I am awake, I don't want to go back to sleep. So yeah, I let him stay, because they say to treat that waking just before 6 a.m. as another nighttime waking. So I let him keep fussing, and then finally he did go to sleep until 6:45. And then we got him up for the day. So that was night one. I spent about 3 hours sitting next to his crib throughout the night as he cried or fussed and figured out how to put himself to sleep. But it went better than I thought it would. I thought he might be like hysterical, like hyperventilating crying, and he never did that. So I felt good about that. And then I'll try to make the next 2 nights quick. The next 2 nights went pretty well. I actually have gotten better, progressively better. And I will add, I'm not really doing this method during the day for naps, because a lot of people say, Kim West recommends doing it during the day too, but a lot of people say it's so important for them to be well rested in order for this process to go well when they go to sleep at night, that do whatever you can to get them to sleep during the day, because you do not want an overtired baby if you're going to be doing sleep training. So I did nurse him to sleep during the day because I knew that he would nap better that way. And he napped for 2.5 hours in the afternoon, which he never naps that long. So I was like, okay, sure, this is great. And so then the second night, he literally rolled over and went right to sleep without a single fuss when I put him down the first time, which was amazing. And then I came out to spend a little bit of time with my husband, which is awesome because we don't ever get a lot of time together, just the two of us without the baby. So we spent about 2 hours together, and that was really great. And I went back into the room to go to bed, and he didn't wake up, and I was like, oh, great. So I went to sleep, and he woke up at 4:30 in the morning. He had fallen asleep around 8. So he had slept for over 8.5 hours. Yeah. He never, ever, has ever slept 8 hours. Ever! It was insane. Now, I heard him throughout the night at least 3 times wake up, roll over, or make a little peep or a sigh or a move, and maybe just like a little teeny fuss, but then he immediately put himself back to sleep. It was amazing. I was like, this is not my child. Yes, it was so good. But then at 4:30 when he woke up and he wanted, well, I did feed him at 4:30. I'll just add that. I have gone down to feeding him only once a night, because they say at this point, at 6 months, a baby does not need to be fed all throughout the night. You can feed them once or twice if you want, but they should be able to go 8 to 10 hours without eating. So I decided to wean him down to 1 nighttime feeding. And so I fed him at 4:30, he went to sleep right afterwards, and he woke up 20 minutes later, and then he cried for 45 minutes. But then he went to sleep, and he slept until 6, which I thought was pretty decent. So yeah, second night was awesome. The time between 4:30 and 6:30 in the morning really sucked, but that's his worst time. So I was like, I'll take it. And then last night, the third night, he went to bed super easy again. He slept for 4 hours before he woke up the first time. I I sat next to him and shushed him. He was asleep within 10 minutes with minimal fussy crying. He slept for another 4 hours, and then he got up to eat, and then he went back to sleep, and then I'm trying to remember because I'm kind of like, oh, it's a long night. And then he was up a couple times between 4 and 6:30, but I let him figure it out. Every time he woke up, he was back asleep within 10 minutes. And then finally at 6 o'clock when he wanted to get up, I said, no, Ryker, it's night, shush, and he went back to sleep until 7:45. So I was like, yes, score. It was great. So that was our first 3 nights of sleep training, and I think it has gotten progressively better super quick, which I was not expecting it to be this quick before he was already putting himself back to sleep at night within 10 minutes. And so I'm very happy that I've decided to do this and that this method is working out well. I think when I shush him when he first wakes up now, he is immediately comforted by that because he knows that I'm there, and that makes me feel so much better than being away and him being alone and just crying because he doesn't know where I am or what's going on. So I think that this method is going to work out really well for us, and I would recommend it for anyone else who doesn't want to do a full cry it out or a fervor method where you're not in the room with them. So yeah, you're going to lose a little bit of sleep, and the baby's going to cry a little bit, but just remember, in the long run, it's what's best for them because you're teaching them a skill that is going to help them for the rest of their lives, and it's probably going to make their toddlerhood a lot easier on both of you. So anyway, I will hopefully be doing another update on how sleep training is going next week, and by then maybe he'll be sleeping almost through the night. That would be awesome, or at least, you know, with only 1 or 2 nighttime wakings, which would be like amazing for us. So happy mom. And so that's it for this episode of Sleep Talk with Jenny. We will catch you guys again. I'm going to be filming a cloth diaper update maybe later today, so we'll have that up soon. Thanks for watching, mamas. Take care of yourselves and those lovely babies, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Hi guys, it's Jenny, and I'm here to do Ryker's 5-month update. And I figured today we'd do a little bit of like a mommy-son matchy-matchy. So we are both wearing our orange plaid today.